Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole fan.
And I am Chris, and I am an empathetic Gator fan.
And we are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. And let's just skip all the malarkey, Chris. I'm not really feeling up to it. Let's just go into all the recap of the games, and we'll start off with the Gators winning against the South Florida Bulls. I'm going to defer to you. We have some things to cover around the state, but, not feeling the jolliest of moods today.
Yeah. I wonder why. And we'll get to that later. But yeah, we'll talk about the Gators and Bulls, and then we'll let you grieve, vent, whatever. So yes, the Florida goes to South Florida to play the Bulls, and they win 42-20 in a game that it was a game of two halves. It was a strange game, and it was a lot of questions were answered, or maybe you feel good about yourself, and in the second half, you're like, oh, it's the same team that we saw with FAU. And I don't know if we progressed at all. I don't think we regressed, but I think we're just kind of overall. Okay. I think we're just the same. I mean, the big storyline, again, for the second week in a row is Anthony Richardson. I mean, this guy is a human highlight reel. He is the next big thing. I still don't know if this year is his time. I don't know yet, but he is special. You kind of got glimpses. You're like, okay, FAU, whatever. I mean, back-to-back games, he gets in the game. It is just like he touches the ball, good things happen. And so he went for 100 yards, rushing 100 yards, passing, the last quarterback to do that since Tebow. Oh. And anytime you get Tebow-like numbers or comparison to Tebow, you're doing pretty good. Emory Jones, first half, looked pretty on point. He actually was making decisions. He saw that he could throw a deep ball right on the money. One thing I did like that he did was the speed options. He's a real good decision maker at that. He is a threat running it, a legit threat running it, but he made good decisions when to keep it, when to pitch it. He did pretty good the first half, but we'll get into the second half later on. So AR overall making people miss, shedding tackles, throwing dimes on the run effortlessly. So I just love to see. I mean, I think it was 267 total yards, and I think 3 touchdowns from him. 2 in the air, 1 running, an 80-yard touchdown run, where he kind of came up limp with a hamstring there. But he's special. I was still kind of hesitant. I'm probably like the last person in Gator Nation to jump on the Richardson train, fully jump on it. Like, I think I was on it, but my feet were dragging a little bit. I'm all in on him. Now we'll get to the future of him versus Emory later, but he was fantastic. The running game continued to shine, continued to be productive. Part of that is the quarterbacks can run real well, effectively, But as a team, 363 total yards rushing. I mean, you had a 400-yard performance last week. I should say 363 on the ground again. Again, I know FAU, USF, not the best, but still, this is what I wanted going into the season. Can you get some push? Can you be decent, good, dominant against lesser opponents? And they're checking that box off. So that is good to see. Receivers, at least in the first half, receivers, I was harping on them last week. They did real well this week, stepping up, helping their quarterbacks. Copeland went off. 175 and 2 touchdowns. Henderson had a great catch from Jones. Shorter, it's a big target. So receivers in the first half helped and stepped up and got some separation. So checking that off. And then on the defense, the D-line was solid. I think Ventrell Miller went out, or a middle linebacker with an injury. I don't think it was anything serious, but Bernie comes in and it plays real solid. He was all over the place. And Jeremiah Moon, who was that kind of D-end linebacker spot, he looks like he slimmed down a bit, and he was all over the place too. Kyer Elam got a pick, mainly because of the pressure up front. I believe it was Moon got pressure on the quarterback. He threw a bad pass, and Elam got the pick. And like I said, Jones, you see the flashes of Jones, and you're like, oh, the first half, you're like, that's the Jones we like. Can you do that a whole game? Can you be consistent? Because especially when you got your backup is just lights out the whole game. So a lot of good things came from this game, but it just stinks because the way the game ended, it just kind of left a bad taste in your mouth. But you see potential, you see some hope, and a little bit of progression in our offense, but just I don't know if it's enough considering who's coming up, not just next week, but down the line. So overall, a lot of good things came out of this game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's weird to see Richardson, after all of that, lead in passing and rushing, but that doesn't concern me too much because South Florida just has so many struggles, and you go up 35-3 on somebody, you can kind of start to pump the brakes a little bit. And so, I mean, South Florida's had their struggles, getting shut out last week, didn't really help that. And, I know you expressed some concerns about this game going into the season. I feel like you're probably okay with the result here. I understand the qualms of going up 20 points, but then again, and as I might say later, when you're really preparing for Alabama next week, how much are you really worried about it?
Yeah, and so we'll get into the negatives. You don't like to give up 20 points to a team that was just shut out. I didn't think that we were going to shut them out. Just as it's hard to shut a team out, it's hard to get shut out multiple games. So I wasn't too surprised. Again, it's just 10 of those points came from turnovers. So that doesn't really look good. I think their last touchdown, I believe, we gave up a long punt return to set them up in 10. I believe, I could be wrong on this, of their 4 times they scored, I'm pretty sure either they were on our territory, starting on our territory, going in to get points. So I'm not too worried about the defense. It's just, I don't know if it wasn't as dominant as I'd like, but I'm okay with that. So we'll go back to the offense. Jones, second half. I mean, the team in general, the second half came out flat. Credit to South Florida. They outscored us in the second half 17-7, 10-0 in the third quarter. They came out ready. They adjusted. Maybe because we were up 35-3, we kind of became relaxed a little bit. That's where you see Jones throws 2 picks. The first one was a bad read, an out route, just a bad read. And the second one, he had Whittemore open. He just waited too long. I don't know if it was – it just seemed like he was going down his progressions too late, and when he saw Whittemore, it was too late. So I don't know why that is. Why can't he – you see flashes of greatness, and then you'll see – I mean, but it's kind of concerning. 2 picks last game, 2 picks this game. You're kind of like, you're not really helping your case, Emory. I think one thing that did contribute, though, to the poor results in the second half was you saw, like, Mullen was putting second and third stringers in, like, right out the gate, third quarter, especially on defense. You saw names way down on the depth chart, on the D-line and the secondary. Again, I think Mullen's like, I will give up some points in the second half versus South Florida, because I want to get my reps in because I didn't have a spring game, because I know who's coming up left. So I think big picture was the right idea, but, man, during the game, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating to see them move the ball more, them be more effective, because you want that 63-0 shutout, right? That's what you want as a fan.
Yeah.
But I understand. After I got the time to think about it, I was like, yeah, I didn't like seeing third stringers in a third quarter, but maybe that was the best thing. Who knows? We'll see if it plays out. Fourth down conversions, I believe we're 1 for 3 on fourth downs. I think we got I don't know what the record is so far, but we just overall we got to figure out a fourth down. Maybe Richardson is the guy where you put him in, his power like Tebow. And the secondary still a little bit suspect. I think Perkins might be a bright spot, being opposite of Elam, but safeties, I'm not. Rashard Torrance did come up and run support pretty well, but There's a couple of times that the safeties and corners and linebackers got beat, so that kind of concerns you. Still got to. I feel confident about the D line, but it's the back half. I'm just still not there. Not enough playmakers and guys busted coverages. But part of that could have been the rotations and trying to get everybody in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, that's still things to improve on, and not backwards. I'm glad we're not going backwards. I don't think we're going forwards enough in these two games. But we'll see. I'll take it. 20-something point win on the road.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I think along the same lines of fourth down conversion, anything just short yardage distance. I mean, the fact that Mangum goes 8 carries, only 29 yards, but 2 touchdowns. He's obviously their short distance guy, and he succeeded against UF. Maybe you look at that a second time. But again, not a whole lot of concern there. I have no doubts that Grantham cleans it up.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's nothing. It's not as glaring, but there's still a lot of work to do. not as bad, but there's still. I just think everyone. I mean, every Gator fan knows. Like, since week 1, we've been thinking about Alabama. So every play, every game, every snap, we're like, okay, imagine if that's Alabama. And I get it. I'm doing that. I know the coaches are doing that too. So I think if Alabama wasn't on our game, the first SEC game, third game of the season, I think Florida fans are a little bit more happier, but I think we're all apprehensive and still nervous. That's why we're a little bit more tight, because we're like, okay, that was good. Richardson's breaking tackles. He's shedding people, but can he do that against Alabama? That's a whole nother level, Got
it.
So I'll take it though. I'm content. I'm very, like I said last week, content. I'm content, and I'm. It's a W.
Gotcha. And I mean, we'll talk about Miami Hurricanes later on, but playing Miami early in the season can really just shake you up top to bottom. So, it can affect everything about your play calling and your decision, your personnel from preseason on.
Right. All right, so that is it. So you want to rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with, my friend?
Let's do it. And, for the listeners and the fans and community, thank you so much for all your patronage. www.floridafocuspodcast.com if you want to reach out to us. Chris and I are going to try something a little different for this one. I'm going to be Brandon, the FSU fan, approaching the podium. And Chris is going to be the Florida fan, the reporter. Okay, so bear with us, guys, because we're going to try something a little different here. But trust me, it's going to pay off.
Okay.
Good. So let me...
putting a lot of faith in me, my friend. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let me paint the picture here. Brandon, the FSU fan, has just watched Florida State versus Jacksonville State. He's on his couch. He's huddled up in his FSU Snuggie. Yes, those still exist. Yet he's chewed through most of it because he's in nervous wreck. He's trying to get up and muster some courage to go to the fridge and or watch Twitter or ESPN highlights, but can't do it. Can't muster it. But it's tough, and he knows he has to do it. So reluctantly, he approaches the podium. He knows the other side of that podium is Chris, the Florida Gator fan, ready with questions, because he has to account for his team's performance. And as he approaches the microphone and the podium, yeah, secretly he's nervous, but he puts on a facade of bravery. And he waits for the first question. Chris, go ahead.
Chris, Gainesville, Florida, the Alligator Times.
Yes.
What was going on that last play?
So,
prevent defense, that's still in the playbook, right?
I appreciate the question. And before I even answer that question or any other subsequent questions, I want to quote one of my favorite poets, the Fine Young Cannibals. I can't stop the way I feel. Things you do don't seem real. Tell me what you've got in mind, because we're running out of time. Won't you ever set me free? This weight is killing me. You drive me crazy like no one else. and I can't help myself. I can't get any rest. People say I'm obsessed. Everything you say is lies, but to me, there's no surprise. What I have for you is true. Things go wrong. They always do. And you still drive me crazy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So who is to blame for this game?
There's a lot. And to address your first question, there's a whole lot of things my defensive staff needs to correct. If a team is going 4th and 10, and they only have 59 yards to victory against a team that has 3 national championships and 3 Heisman Trophy winners, there's really no excuse for not going prevent right away. There's simply no reason to expect that, okay, even if they're going to go with a timeout or a short dump off to shorten the field, or if for some miraculous reason they're getting enough yards in 5 seconds and get out of bounds and or call a timeout to get in field goal range, I shouldn't be ready with my team. So, lead me back to your second question, Chris.
Who is to blame for this? Players? Coach?
It's top to bottom. It starts with the coaching staff. How can you really blame one person on the last play of the game when we dropped 3 potential interceptions? Who can you blame if we don't convert a 4th and 2 with 9 minutes to go to put us up by 17? Who can you blame if you're in the first quarter and you have a clear pass that's going to go for a touchdown and my wide receiver drops it? Who can you blame but the coaching staff? We knew coming into the season that the wide receivers would be a spot of weakness, but it comes down to the coaching staff.
Yeah, it's a good assessment there. Next question. How did you only put up 17 points at home versus Jacksonville State when the week before you put up over 30 against a top 10 ranked Notre Dame team?
We came prepared in the offseason for a Notre Dame team that was in the top 10. And, we probably, in all honesty, Chris, underestimated our opponent, despite the fact that we should not have. I think a lot of my fellow Seminole fans would say, hey, the logo's on the helmet, we're on Bobby Bowden Field, we shouldn't worry about FCS teams. But it's easy to forget that in 2009, we eked out a win against Jacksonville State, this very same school, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever the math is, on a team we trailed 9-7 with 2 minutes to go in the game. This is the same team we trailed 21-7 just last season in the second quarter. And to include other FCS schools, we trailed Samford with 4 minutes to go in the game in Willie Tiger's first year. So the fact that we didn't respect our opponents like we should have and or prepared them and not treated them like some other kind of scrimmage or spring game is our own fault.
Okay, thank you. What do you think FSU's decision, why do you think FSU decided not to run more Jason Corbin, especially in the second half after he had gone over 100 yards and had a touchdown?
Again, back to the coaching staff. I think that we were looking too much ahead and really thought that we should just try and experiment with our passing game. Despite the fact that me, as a Seminole fan, and Mike Norvell as a coaching staff, know that the rushing game is our strength. We really probably came into this game thinking we could try new things, as is evident by the first quarter, trying to run 2 quarterbacks on the same play at the same time, and did not run more. And that's the negative about this game, Chris, is that the running backs do not get the credit they deserve. This was the strength of our team and still has been for about the last 16, 17 games. And that's not the things people will remember.
Okay. Now, if Mackenzie Milton still is the guy at quarterback, what do you do with Jordan Travis going forward?
So I think that we've done both quarterbacks probably a disjustice to this point. Because Jordan Travis is the quarterback that led us out of a Jacksonville State deficit last year. Let's not forget that. But let's also remember that we have continually had offensive line struggles, and now we've suffered a pretty major injury and don't know how our offensive line will look going forward. And that is exactly what Mackenzie Milton depends on. He is a guy who sits back in the pocket. He will roam when he has to. He will throw it away when he has to. But he also depends on the guys he's going to dump the ball off to. And we have failed him as a transfer, and Jermaine Johnson, who's our best player on the defense, but not providing the outlets that they need to succeed. So it is a concern, and it's something we have to work on, especially going into Wake Forest, or one of the most important games of the season next Saturday.
And speaking of Wake Forest, what do you think your chances are of making a bowl now that they've lost 2 in a row to start the season?
So the odds are probably against us for a bowl, but it doesn't mean our team isn't optimistic. I think almost every single fan and our coaching staff included maybe our best chance to win against Jacksonville State, and that's the team that beat us. So losing by 3 at home, who someone is in the FCS, doesn't bode well. I would like to point out the 2011 Virginia Tech team. This is a team who opened up against Boise State, a very, very good opponent. Struggled down to the very end of the game, but loses by 3. The very next week, they lose to James Madison. What division is that, Chris? Division 2. Everyone writes them off. However, Virginia Tech goes on to win 10 games in a row, win the ACC, and go to the Orange Bowl. So, by bringing that up, I'm saying that there's never a chance to write someone off, but I'm also saying there is a lot of room for improvement, which I know we're going to pursue. And our goal is to win every single game that we have, as proof by all the 4th down attempts that I've tried over the last several years. And I believe in my team. I believe we can win every single game that's left on us. But I think we all agree we cannot win every single game, and we will not win any game if we play the way we did against Jacksonville State.
Okay. Do you think this is the worst loss in program history? And is this rock bottom? Does it get any worse than this?
As a Noles fan, it's hard to say no. There's many scrapes with close games. Louisiana Monroe comes to mind. Jacksonville State in 2009 comes to mind. However, this year they were able to beat us. And for one day, they were superior to us. So I have to agree with you, Chris, and that's not something I like to admit or like to say is true. But the fact that we have not lost to an FCS opponent since 1958, hard to me to argue against that point. And it's hard to know where we go from here as far as how do we approach our opponents, what do our players do, and I'm sure as your next question will address, how does recruiting and the future be impacted by this?
Yeah, absolutely. For the last question, I was going to see how do you think this will affect the future from recruiting to boosters, coaching changes? Where do you see the effects coming from this loss?
I guess time will tell is the short answer. But the thing is, we have to battle here. Florida State, the coaching staff, Mark Norvell, we're up against a mountain we got to climb. And we have to convince guys like A.G. Duffy, and other guys that are in the top 5 recruiting class of next season, 2021, to stay with us. And that's not going to be an easy task. After the Notre Dame very, very close loss, we had everyone bought in. We are in the exact opposite boat now, where we have to convince everybody just to stay and convince everybody that this game was an anomaly, not Notre Dame. As a recruit, what do you believe? It's a very valid question. I think we have 10 games to prove that. Mm-hmm. And it's really up to us, especially in the next 2 weeks when we play Wake Forest and Louisville, who most people would agree were comparable opponents, to prove that we are still competitive and we are still going to be a team that faces adversity well. Because up to this point, in the last 3 seasons, we just haven't been that team.
Okay, that is it for me. Thank you very much for taking the time.
You bet. Thank you so much, Go Noles.
That was fun. Interesting. I will say, you are one of the more upbeat and optimistic Nole fans. As most Nole fans that I've listened to or talked to, not as cool and calm and collective as you are right now.
Well, I feel like I've hit it pretty well. But in reality, Chris, there are some things as I watch this game continually progress. Is it bad to say I was not surprised on how it ended? But because if you give your team, I don't think I'm exaggerating here, literally 12 to 15 plays to seal a victory, and you go 0-for-15,
right?
You know, what do you expect? What's really there? And it's really sad. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day when FSU loses to a Division II. I just never did. And yet here I am, and I have to address the issue. And this is a swing point. This is where it happens. It either goes one way or the other. This game will not be a non-factor for FSU.
Okay. It will show up later, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm an empathetic Gator fan because I mean we were there, 2012. We were there. I remember Georgia Southern. I remember all the FSU fans who chirped at me after Georgia Southern. But the week before that, we lost to Vanderbilt at home, and I was just like, I never thought we would lose to Vanderbilt at home. Like I just couldn't fathom it. And I remember my wife at the time we were just started dating, and she's like, "Are we gonna lose to Georgia Southern at home?" I'm like, "No, we can't." I was like, "Well, maybe," you know. And at the point the kickoff started, I think the game was on in the background. I didn't watch much of that game because at point the grieving stage I was already at anger. So I was just mad. I mean, part of me was like, I hope they lose because I want to hit rock bottom, because only when you hit rock bottom you can go up, right?
Yep.
So part of me was like, I was like mad at Muschamp too. Like good, mad. And it's not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling. Now I hope for your sake. I mean, I hope this is rock bottom. I don't know what can be worse than this.
Yep.
I mean, that was our rock bottom. Losing at home to Georgia Southern right after losing at home to Vanderbilt. So This is what rock bottom feels like. It ain't fun. Now, I will say I think a lot of Florida State fans felt like last year was rock bottom, so it's probably why it's a little more of a shock to you. Because you thought you already hit it.
Yeah, and I appreciate the empathy because a lot of Gator fans just wouldn't care to give their empathy here, and you and I are very much there, and you understand it, and you appreciate it, and you give it back, which I can't overlook. So thank you again.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was happy they lost because, as you well know, it's noted. I don't like Florida State.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
But you're my co-host, so I feel for you.
No.
I feel for you.
No, I appreciate that. I do. And I think the 2013 Georgia Southern loss for Florida, it really fell in a weird time because FSU was on the rise and you had James Winston. So, like, that's a very different kind of thing. Well, I say very different, but not totally different because UF is still on the rise, and since Dan Mullen's hiring, you're still 9 or 10 wins a year.
Yeah.
But FSU was clearly on the way to a national title, and that makes it feel a little bit different. But yeah, this is like I said, it's hard for me to. I really can't point to another game where this is the lower point.
I was thinking, you can remind me of the year, like Wake Forest at home, like 31-0.
30-0, 06. Yes, we lost at home.
Okay.
That's a pretty bad one. That one came to mind. Wake Forest didn't win the ACC that year. It's weird as
Okay.
it sounds for me to ever say something like that.
And this is probably it then, yeah.
Yeah. That was a season where FSU just tanked out with Jeff Bowden as an offensive coordinator. It was the beginning of the end, middle of the end, I should say, with Bobby Bowden and his tenure. Rest in peace. And he was let go 3 years later. Wake Forest didn't have any business winning the ACC that year. That was the weirder part of that, in my opinion. It was like, not only was FSU struggling, but they were losing, and so was everyone else, to a team that had no business winning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Ole Miss won the SEC next year, I'm like, what the? How did that happen? You know?
Right.
And so that's one that came to mind. We struggled against Troy that same season. We nearly lost to the Troy Trojans. Like, it was a tie game. They scored late, and we had to come back to win, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I really struggled to find an FCS or Division II opponent where this kind of thing happened before. And someone joked, like, you shouldn't schedule Jacksonville State anymore. I'm like, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Because in 2009, they were 2 minutes away from winning. They were only 2 quarters away last year from giving us a game. And this year they actually beat us. So, you know, what gives? But the bigger question, Chris, is Division II schools, why are we still struggling against these types of programs?
Right.
And I think everyone wants the answer to that, which I don't have.
Well, I think what might help a little bit is, you see what Notre Dame, they struggled at home against, the name's blanking, but Toledo, yeah, thank you. They struggled mightily and almost lost that game. So maybe Notre Dame isn't as good as many people thought. Maybe, where to start? There's so many, like a sinking ship with 1,000 holes.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start? Do you even start? Do you even try to get a new ship? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, shocking, to say the least.
And
but maybe for some Florida State fans, they're not shocked at all.
I mean, as the game progressed, I wasn't shocked, and I wasn't totally. I hate to say this, I wasn't totally upset we lost this game. So don't hate me, FSU fans, and I don't care if you do, because like Chris is trying to prove here, if you're going to go down, you might as well go down now and learn your lesson, because let's just assume for a second you have this close game against Notre Dame, and then you win 8 games this year, eight games this season, excuse me. A close Jacksonville State win, let's just say we win 17-14. No one remembers.
Mm.
It's gone. It's in the headlight. It's in the taillight, excuse me, and you're moving on with your life. But now you've lost to a team, that tends to highlight everything about your year.
Yeah.
And guess what? No one's going to let you forget it.
Right. Well, I think Milton was interviewed after the game, and he was saying, well, first after the Notre Dame game, he said, I don't believe in moral victories. And he kind of alluded to after this game, I think a lot of people bought into that, whereas everyone was congratulating us after a loss. And I think that kind of messed with them a little bit. So they would have congratulated him after a close win. And they wouldn't. I guess you need this to take it seriously, I guess.
Yeah.
You need to really take it. I guess. I mean, I know Florida State fans and the AD and everything, it has taken it seriously with moves and whatnot, but I don't think they realized how serious it was till this happened. Sure. I think you're right. Like, if they had pulled it off, then I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, Florida State, you're so silly, almost losing to Jacksonville State.
For a
but
third
now,
time.
yeah. But now you have to take it. You have to address it. You have to be real. You have to go. Oh no, this is it. This is bad. This is as bad as others might have been saying, or maybe we didn't want to admit. But this is. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, as much as it stinks right now, like I was right there with Georgia Southern. I was like, I'm glad we lost. It still stunk. It was embarrassing. Nationally and within the state, it was embarrassing. but I think it needed to happen for the changes to happen.
Maybe. So let's hope those changes happen. That's my prayer. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's. Okay, that's over. You're done. Whew.
Thank you.
And we can move on to other games.
Yes, please. You bring it up next. Who do you want to talk about besides Florida State?
All right, so We'll start with UCF and their blowout victory, 63-14 versus Bethune-Cookman in a game. I mean, it's just this is the typical UCF Dylan Gabriel game that you're going to see.
Yep.
Really, I mean, you were there though, so you can speak to it though.
Yeah. I mean, 3 touchdowns on the night, which is probably relatively low for him. He's gonna get that as a minimum, I would guess. A 44-yard touchdown run, which highlights the night. Mm-hmm. Bethune-Cookman came in; they knew what they were expecting. A very good atmosphere. They actually Bethune-Cookman, the Wildcats, they played pretty well. Given what they were up against, they held the Knights for the first quarter. It was 14-7. They were driving down, maybe to tie the game, early second quarter before they threw a pick, and then UCF kind of ran off about 56 points straight or something like that, but. Kept their composure. They did a joint halftime show, honoring 9/11. So, hard to believe it's been 20 years since that occurred. Right. Good for them. Bethune band showed up. The players were good. They kept the sportsmanship. UCF did exactly what they wanted to do. They played 4 quarterbacks. Bowser didn't play the second half. Their main rusher. Everything you expect from a game like this. And UCF impressed and got a little bit better and a little more experience.
Yeah. If you are in a fantasy league and you didn't have Bowser as your running back, you're kicking yourself.
Yep.
4 touchdowns.
4.
Yeah. Reminds me of, was it Singletary at FAU a couple years ago?
Yep.
He was a touchdown machine. Bowser seems to be that guy, too. And again, I'll say it again, what a great compliment for Gabriel. He needs that.
Yes. Finally a rushing game, especially when you can run out of a 4-wide set. It's a big one there.
Absolutely.
Thought here for you, Chris. FAU does beat Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
In pretty statement fashion. They beat them pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, they went down early 6-0, and it was all FAU after that. And we saw this. We knew that N'Kosi Perry, 332 and 4 touchdowns. I saw the potential, the first game against Florida. So, and again, Willie's got him going there. I think they're turning the corner. I didn't put too much into that Florida game because I saw okay, against lesser opponents, I think they're gonna thrive, and they did. They handled the Georgia Southern at home.
Yep, indeed. So, I think our picks still stand for their successful 7-8 win season and contend for a conference bid. Still stands. So,
yep.
Good for us. Real quickly, Texas State does beat FIU in overtime. So this was a close one, just like we kind of thought it would be. And, that's fun. Still very competitive. FIU still has a lot to play for. Mm-hmm. They still won their first game of the season. And still a long way to go. But came close on this one, not quite as successful as they wanted.
Yeah, FIU seemed like they were pulling away late, or they went up ahead in the third quarter there, and everything was rolling their way, but couldn't pull it out and couldn't do it in overtime. Still a lot to play for, still early, but yeah, Texas State comes out with a victory, 23-17.
Yep, indeed. And then probably the funniest game of the weekend, Chris. Mostly because we don't like the Hurricanes, but Miami does narrowly beat Appalachian State.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad when your game is very close. You're very kind of as they would say, hungover from the Alabama matchup. Mm-hmm. And a cat falling from the top level into another one where the fan saves them is the highlight of your game. It's not a good look.
Yeah. They not only did he catch it, he caught it in an American flag, which is, I guess, fitting for non-11. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, that really was the highlight of the game. They struggled mightily against App State. App State was up 6 minutes left. They're up by 1. Credit to Miami, they went down. Borregales I don't know if I said it correctly.
You got it.
The younger one hits a 43-yarder, the freshman, and they went up with 2 minutes left in the game. But I think they were in control, and they kind of almost got away with them late. But very clutch at the end. Give them credit.
Sure.
But yeah, I think a lot of it was they're still dizzy from Alabama, which happens a lot.
It does. It does. But I mean, as something constant, like, I'm not going to just blame this on Alabama. The ACC itself this year, in the first 2 weeks, doesn't look good.
Yeah, they hit him down.
FSU goes 0-2. Hurricanes struggle mightily. UNC's already lost to a divisional opponent. It's really weird when, like, your Virginia Tech, Virginia's, and Boston Colleges are the undefeated teams going into week 3.
Yeah.
And, ACC Will of Destiny, this is not anything new, I suppose. But it still baffles me to some point that the powerhouses of the ACC aren't maintaining that power. And to conferences like the SEC, Chris, obviously you're there, I get it. You're like, how does this happen? Like, where does this go? Yeah. Like, why does Duke struggle against? They lose to Charlotte and they struggle against the Division II. I forget who they play. Like, what gives? I just don't understand why these teams go into non-conference matchups not prepared and just barely eke out and win.
Yeah, well, I will say there has been a couple of SEC teams. I mean, LSU lost on the road. A&M struggled against Colorado. Vanderbilt lost to East Tennessee State. So, I mean, Mississippi State messed around and almost lost their first game too. So, I think it's happening across the board.
Okay.
Maybe because I think in general, just a general statement, you're seeing the last like 3-4 years, a lot of bigger matchups, interconference matchups have been scheduled. So I think that might be. I think once conference play comes and things settle down, I think it might not be as crazy. Except for the ACC, they're always going to be nuts. But I think in general, like Georgia, Clemson, week 1, I mean that doesn't happen 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Miami, Alabama doesn't happen 7-8 years ago. So I think you're going to see more of those type of games being played, which might skew the numbers a little bit. But I think the ACC, no matter what you do, is just going to be Clemson and then pick a name out of a hat,
Yeah. I mean, at this point in the ACC, quick little quiz question for you. When's the last time Florida State won the ACC, Chris?
13?
Close. 14.
14. That was my next guess.
So if you make it to this year, that's 8 seasons? 7 seasons? It's too long, obviously.
Yeah.
For my liking. And Clemson just dominated since then. That's bad. Can't have that. And obviously I love Florida State to win like 7 in a row, and like if we used to win 12 in a row. That ain't gonna happen. I understand. And back to the Jacksonville State loss, these kinds of things are going to happen. I said it, Noles fans. I said it. Yes, it's going to happen. You can't win 3 national titles, finish in the top 5 for 15 straight seasons, and not have a dip. It is impossible. I'm going to translate that. It's impossible in English.
Right.
Okay? It's just going to happen. You're not going to remain on the top forever. And we should appreciate and kiss our lucky stars the fact that we had success that long, because no other schools in the history of college football, minus like, was it OU had like 54-game win streak in the 50s or whatever? Yeah. Outside of that, like USC, Clemson, all these other powerhouses, they will maybe go 6, 7, 8 years with that amount of success, and then it goes down again.
Right.
So the fact that we had it for double that.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
I mean, when Spurrier he had like 10, 11 dominant years, but then he was gone. Yeah. And that was kind of rare.
Sure.
And then FSU did even more. So, yeah. I think you're starting to maybe appreciate Bowden and Jimbo, what they did.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Now more than ever.
Yep.
So.
All right. So enough of the past. Let's look forward.
Please.
and it's real tough for me to say because, I mean, I'm kind of scared of what's ahead of us.
That's all right. But I know you're realistic. I know you're optimistic too. So I welcome your feedback on the mixture of that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Florida welcomes to the swamp number 1 Alabama, defending national champions. Nick Saban, I mean, the greatest coach that I've seen. I mean, Bowden's up there, but I mean, Saban's it.
Nice.
And I mean, this guy it's a factory what he does. And going into this game, I thought we had a really good chance. I mean, Bryce Young seems to just jumping in and lights out. But then him, his receivers, running backs, the offense is still clicking. But the last game, who they play? Mercer? Yeah, Mercer. They didn't look the greatest, like they were explosive against Miami. But you saw their defense was still forcing turnovers. They had a block punt. I mean, they just don't mess around, and they're pretty good. For Florida, I think this game is winnable, and these are how Florida wins this game. You got to figure out Richardson, Emory Jones. I mean, Mullen said that Jones is going to be the starter, but Richardson will play. I think I'm leaning towards Richardson. I don't know. Do you? Hey, redshirt freshman, this is your first start against number 1 Alabama. I don't know if that's the best route, but I think Jones gives you a good chance to win because you see the potential in Jones. I think Richardson gives you the best chance to win. Okay. You just see what he does on the field. I mean, my heart is saying, you know, maybe it's going Jones just because he's worked his way up there, and you want to give him a chance. But my eyes, I mean, you see what Richardson does on the field. Alabama's different, though. I don't know if he's going to break all those tackles and outrun everyone against Alabama. I don't know. But he might break some tackles and outrun some guys and get at least a second level. Maybe. But I think he gives you a better chance than Jones does. Now, I mean, you look, he's very efficient. He whatever, 7 for 7 or something like that. 4 touchdowns. But, I mean, he didn't have many opportunities as Jones to mess up yet, if that makes any sense. Just the numbers wise. But when he's in there, he's electric. He's calm. I think he can be that X factor. He could be that next guy. We'll see. We're going to see a lot of him. Will he be that guy that wows everybody, Manziel, Tebow, whatever, or is he just going to be his next good quarterback? This is it. We'll see. I think he has a potential to be an X factor and change the game. I like the fact that receivers are stepping up a little bit. They had some drops in the second half of USF, but Jacob Copeland and now Xavier Henderson seems to be that next that one, nice 1-2. Can we get a 3-4? Tight end still not a non-factor. If Florida gets a good push on the with the running game, I think we have a really good chance. I mean, at home in the swamp, the place is going to be rocking. Yeah. You want to know how loud it's going to be when Richardson steps on the field for the first time? It's going to be loud. The fans are all about Richardson. I get it. Defense, I do like our D-line better. Much better. Kyer Elam seems like a lockdown corner. And I know that Mullen has been rotating guys in to get some depth and experience for everybody, which helps. If we control the line of scrimmage, if we get some kind of pressure on Bryce Young, I think it's going to help us out a lot. If we win the turnover battle, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, when the swamp is rocking, we'll see. Can Bryce Young handle that? I mean, he handled himself well against Miami in a neutral site game. I picked Florida to win earlier in the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. After the first week, I was like, oh, Alabama, they just got me scared. I'm liking a lot when I see from our offensive players. I'm not as nervous with our defense. I like Richardson. I think he can be that X factor to really put a lot of pressure on Alabama's defense. I don't know if our defense is going to stop them though. That's the thing. I think our offense can put up points. I think our offense can do a lot of good things. I just don't know if our defense is good enough to stop them. And pains me to say this, but I'm picking Alabama. I mean, I'm Bama by like 11, 35-24. Okay. I'm going against my preseason picks. I watch all the games, and I'm like, I think they're like 11 points better than us. Okay. I think it's going to be close. I think we're going to give them a ball game. I think it's going to be rocking. I just don't know. I think Richardson can make some plays. I think Jones, we'll see what he does. I think Malik Davis, Dameon Pierce coming out of the backfield. Copeland might get a good one-on-one matchup. I think Richardson might bust a long one or something. I just don't know if our defense can stop them enough.
Gotcha.
Turnovers are going to help, and D-line is going to help. I don't know if it's enough. So I say Bama by 11, 35-24.
You know, and Chris, I'll stick behind this. You're not crazy to think that Florida keeps this a game. The two things that you need to control time of possession and how long a really good offense stays on the field is defensive line and rushing game. And you have both of those. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there's no reason to believe that this doesn't stay a game into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the other side with the turnovers. I really think Bama has really kind of had their way with those. And that's probably what sways this matchup. There may be a key player or two that Bama capitalizes on. I'm not even going to start to compare Florida to Miami. That's ridiculous. The Gators are clearly better, so whatever. So people are like, "Oh, it's a top 10, top 15 matchup." Yeah, obviously the Canes struggled with App State, so that doesn't hold up.
Right.
And the Floridas get you at home, which means you automatically have a 3-point advantage on most books. And I'm still going to stick with Bama to win this game. I'm more in the 13-point range.
Okay. I think it might be the spread right now is 13.
Okay. I actually did not know that. For people who are listening, like, Brandon looks at the spread. Now, I do on some games, but this one I didn't.
Yeah. No, actually, it has moved to 15. I think it started at 13.
I'll stick with my 13, so everyone knows I'm not lying. But yeah, I'm not going to say 15-2. I mean, I think Bama still probably scores in the high 30s. So if I give 38, what is that? You have 25, something like that.
38-25, very close to my score. Okay. One thing to keep an eye out. We are recording this early in the week. Richardson, his 80-yard touchdown run, he came up lame with a hamstring. If that thing is serious, he didn't play or isn't a factor. I mean, this game could get ugly.
Interesting. Who's on the depth chart for quarterback, third, fourth string?
We have I think it's Carlos Del Rio, Kitna. There's another guy. I think we're recruiting him. Okay. Jalen Kitna, 2 freshmen.
Okay.
So, really, Jones. I think he if he's first half Jones, we saw it great, but I don't know which Jones you're gonna get.
I actually someone asked me the other day, okay, Florida beats USF by the score. What do you think? I'm like, honestly, my thought is they're gonna be for Bama. Why would they take South Florida seriously? There's no reason. South Florida's been bad for a while.
The way that he was coaching and subbing and rotating, all 5 running backs were in the game by the third quarter. Not in the game, but had got some touches. Everybody that suited up on defense, I'm pretty sure was in the game in the third quarter. So yeah, he's treated these first 2 games. That's why I think it's kind of been performances overall, frustrating here and there. But don't count Mullen out completely. He gets them up for the big games. It's the medium games that frustrate you when he doesn't get them up for. So he will get him up for this, but I don't know. But I'm kind of curious. Is the Richardson's hamstring a strain, a tear? If it's
is it a decoy?
Because if he doesn't play at all, I don't think we have a chance. He gives us a really good chance to compete. on that side of the ball.
Maybe it's a fake injury, a decoy.
Yeah, it looked real.
Throw Bama off. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Oh man. So Florida State has to look ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wake Forest on the road. What to think here, Chris? Let me see. Automatically, number one observation. I'm surprised we're still only an underdog by 6 points.
Okay.
This was pretty much a preseason betting line. Wake Forest by one possession. Actually, every FSU fan was kind of expecting the Demon Deacons to be favored by one score. So the fact that this hasn't moved, I could tell you a couple things. If you're a Noles fan, you think of this as, hey, they looked ahead after Jacksonville State and knew that Wake Forest was a pretty big game on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep in mind that FSU is still undefeated in conference. I know that's really lame. Have you ever seen the movie? Oh my gosh, what was the movie? Not Air Bud, but they were the football team, like Angels in the end zone or whatever.
Angel in the end zone. Yeah.
That was like the pregame coach speech.
Like
he was like, I know we haven't won a game in 4 games, but if you think about it, coming into the season, we're undefeated. We're 0-0. So it's like a lame way to think about this. But Florida State does kind of have a clean slate here. If you're looking at ACC play, you're thinking, okay, we need to at least win 2, maybe 3 conference games. We still got UMass down the road. Syracuse is one of those teams, and they're pretty bad. So the big question is, how do you respond against really bad teams? How do you respond against mediocre teams? You have to go 500 against both of those caliber squads.
Mm-hmm.
I have been back and forth on this one all week, Chris, because I really think FSU did save some stuff for Wake Forest. I think that Mike Norvell, or at least I should say I thought, pardon the tense of my verb there, I really thought all of his mojo and really good play calling was saved for home games because we beat UNC last year at home, right?
Mm.
But now we started 0-2 at home, and it's been no bueno. So I'm really kind of confused on how to approach this now. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Noles right now. And I think it's pretty justified, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough for me to pick this game. I'm going to take the Noles to win. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I think that there have been some things that they've kind of held back. I think that there are some play formations. I think that there have been some quarterback switches that no one's seen. And that Wake Forest probably isn't prepared for this. Wake Forest likes to run, like, no joke, 85, 90 plays a game. They just run this fast tempo offense. And that can really bite you in the bud if you're punting a lot, right? If you're running quickly, you're punting within 14 seconds if you're not careful. And FSU is actually probably going to get more possessions out of this game than they normally would, which probably gives them more chance to run the ball, to control the clock. And I really think that, I mean, it's hard to say, A, that giving up 38 points to Notre Dame is a victory on defense, and B, giving up 20 points and a terrible misread on the last play to Jacksonville State is a victory. However, I really do think those are positive things going into this game.
Okay.
So give me the Noles, and I really think that this will be a low-scoring game. So I'll give me 24-20, Florida State to win on the road.
24-20. All right. While you were talking, I was listening, but I wrote 2 words down. Must win.
Yeah.
I would not. I mean, we knew this was an important game going into the season just to make a bowl. But I mean, from Norvell and his staff's job, recruiting, bowl, the program, this is a huge game for Florida State. I'm very curious to see how they respond. You know, do they? One thing I think they have going for them is a guy like Mackenzie Milton on their team at quarterback. Although he is new to the team, he is not new to football.
Yeah.
And the things I've heard him, the comments and stuff I've heard him say, very mature, very much a guy who's been through this, sees a big picture. I think him in the locker room is going to help Florida State get through this. I think maybe more than the coaching staff, honestly. I expect Florida State to come out swinging. I really do. I really feel that if they stick to the ground game and don't bail on Corbin, figure out something to do with Travis, and when it comes to passing, let McKenzie do his thing. I think FSU is going to give him everything. I don't know if it's enough, though. I'm going to go Wake Forest by 3. Because I just don't trust Florida State's defense. I think you see some potential and bright spots on offense. I just don't know if they're going to stop that fast pace. So I'm going to say Wake. What do I want to say? 27-24.
And what you were saying about, like, I don't trust FSU's defense, I'm not going to lie. I don't either. I just don't. I'm taking a stab here because they've shown some glimpses and they've shown some things. Okay, all right, FSU fans, I get it. We gave up 1,500 play with 6-6. Okay, all right, take your shots. You're valid. But I don't see the proof that that's a pattern. I see that it's an anomaly. So prove me wrong.
Right.
Prove me wrong here. This is your chance. I'm giving my faith to the defense here. And I'm going to tell you what, Chris, if FSU does not pull this out, this season could go south real fast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you can't beat Jacksonville State and you play like that the rest of the year, you could argue they won't win another game the rest of the season. I don't believe that to be the truth, but you could argue it and you wouldn't be crazy. So
yeah, I mean, if they lose this game, it could snowball quick.
Yeah, I mean, FSU
all is not lost, but I mean, it is hairline thin.
I mean, here we are again. This is probably the 4th or 5th time in 5 years where FSU is in September saying the season's done. So if you're Norvell, prove us wrong.
Yeah, get
this corrected. Right the ship. Here's your chance. This is my faith in you and your defense to get this fixed. Anyway, I'm gonna start preaching. I gotta go on. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. So next game, a very intriguing game. We're gonna go Michigan State at Miami. Again, an early non-conference clash. Big names. I just don't know what Miami is yet. I can't figure them out. I just don't know. They returned so many players. They got blown out by Bama. I mean, a lot of people get blown out by Bama. Good teams get blown out by Bama. Then you come home and App State is a decent team, but you really should have no business messing around with them. I just don't know. This is the point of the season where Miami does this to you. There's a couple teams, LSU, Auburn do this in the SEC too, but Miami's very much like, oh, you played awful the first game, you played awful the second game and win. We're going to write you off, so they're going to lose. I think it's one of those where Miami's like, oh, yeah, well, I'll show you. So I'm going to pick Miami to win this game just because that's the way they roll. Just when they're going one direction, they swerve the other. When they're winning 3 games, they'll lose at home to Georgia Tech. So I'm going to pick Miami just to spite everybody. That's how they roll. So Miami, I think a close one because that's what I think it's going to be close. But Miami at home wins.
I like that pick. I mean, for various reasons, Michigan State has just ever since their playoff appearance for some time ago, just fallen off. And this is a rare glimpse for us that are doing the look ahead to like the Big Ten ACC alliance with the Pac-12 and all of that other stuff. We get a rare glimpse here. I'm not gonna lie. Preseason, I was like, "This is Mississippi State, right?" I was like, "Whoops, nope." Geographically, this matchup doesn't make sense, but I think Miami does get it done.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that the Alabama matchup will do to you early in the season. There have been a lot of teams that have really struggled coming off of that matchup. I mean, I could point to Florida State in 2017. Even without a DeAndre Francois injury, the 2017, which was Jimbo Fisher's last season, is very different. After you come off of a loss to the Tide, it just wrecks you emotionally, physically, mentally, and you just don't recover. I really think Miami's going to be in that funk for a month. And so if there's any struggle here, it's because of that matchup. I just don't see the Spartans physically or, talent-wise matching up here. So give me the Canes by 7.
Okay. Yeah, I think about the same line.
Okay.
I'm not really confident Michigan State, but just when Miami, you think they're out, they're in. You think they're in, they're out. So
yeah.
Yep. About right. Okay. Let's see. How about UCF Louisville?
Yeah. Nice.
On the road.
Nice going on the road.
Friday night game?
Yeah, Friday night. Old matchup from conference opponents from the Big East / CUSA / American, whatever you want to go with. I think for Florida State fans, shocker, I went there. I hope that UCF tires out the Louisville Cardinals because FSU plays them next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I see no reason to believe that doesn't happen. Louisville hasn't really shown a whole lot here. Their skill players just haven't been what they were. Tutu Atwell's gone. Their quarterback, the play isn't proven anything yet. So I actually like UCF by 10 here. I know the line's like 7.5. I think they cover that actually pretty easily because of their running game with Bowser. And they have so many things they can throw at a team now. I think UCF covers and wins.
Okay. Yeah, so Louisville played tough-ish against... No, never mind. I was thinking somebody else. No, they got waxed against Ole Miss. I was thinking somebody else. They got waxed against Ole Miss. I mean, UCF's rolling. I say Knights big. Okay. I mean, 17.
Oh.
I think the Knights should roll away with this. I mean, maybe Louisville gives them a quarter, but I think the Knights are on the up and up.
Wow. How about that? All right. South Florida host FAMU. Do you think that Bulls get their first win of the season?
I do. I think it's going to be, yes. I'm not confident, but yes.
I agree. Pretty confident in that. I mean, even South Florida, when they played Citadel last year, they maybe struggled for like 2.5 quarters, but still won. Yeah. FAMU it's just not there. Division II, they know what they're there for. I think South Florida wins. I mean, I can't tell you about how much, but Bulls still win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it might be rocky for a while, but yeah, they pull it out. Get in the win column.
Yep. Indeed. All right. Who's next?
I'll go FAU hosting Fordham. I mean, yeah, Fordham's 0-2. They're not good. FAU had a good win against Georgia Southern. FAU Owls.
Yeah. Fordham's already had their matchup against Nebraska. That win as we thought. I mean, really not to add here. And FAU wins probably by 5 touchdowns. Yeah.
Right.
Moving on.
And in the opposite direction, FIU goes to Texas Tech, and I think they're going to get shellacked.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't know they would have a line. The line is 21.
Yeah.
I thought it would be too big to have one.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Tech.
I mean, here's the FIU improving on some things and at least getting some recruiting talent from matchups like this. But
yeah,
I think Texas Tech covers this pretty comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
FIU already struggled against, other teams they shouldn't have, and they beat Long Island. Good for them. Yada yada. But
all right.
Yeah. Yep.
So that is it, man. 2 weeks in, week 3. Not kind of going the way we thought, but hey, another chance to get a W and celebrate. So, big game for both of our teams for different reasons. But really big games for both.
Yeah, very good point there. We're at a pivot on both sides of it because we're trying to salvage a season, and UF. Correct me if I'm wrong here. This was a season where you probably expected to win 9 games. This matchup is huge and can propel you to a 10th win, which in the SEC it's like climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
Is that close? Are we good there?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a huge game for us. I mean, if we can pull this off, I mean, top 5 playoff talk. SEC East championship game, all that stuff. Talk is going to happen. Okay. I mean, if Richardson continues his stellar play, I mean, you'll hear Heisman talk. There's a big if. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know it was a different team last year, but we saw how close we were. They are the top dogs. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. This is the best. Yeah. I mean. It's early in the season at home. What more can you ask for, right? So, I mean, if Mullen wants to show that he's the guy or a top coach, and if we want to show that we're a top program, this is it. I mean, I don't know if we'll pull it off. Too many question marks, but it's winnable. It's definitely winnable, I think.
Sure. And I mean, set from where we started the season, with the goals each team realistically has in mind. Alabama win would put you there. And for Florida State, pretty much the same thing. If you're like, hey, we need to try and get to a bowl game this year, a Wake Forest win is almost a necessity. So, at this point, it's even more important, given the loss to Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd be saying that. I never thought I'd be saying any of these things I've said this year. Where, like, hey, the Wake Forest game is the most important game of the year.
Yeah,
and let's recover from a Jacksonville State loss. So, put this in your memory. Save this episode the rest of your life, because, in my opinion, you should never hear any of this again from my mouth, ever. That's the hope.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. All right, that is it, man. If the fans want to reach out to us, if you want to vent, if you want to let us know how you feel about Florida, Bama, Richardson versus Jones, Milton, Travis, anything, hit us up at FloridaFocusPodcast.com. Like, subscribe, share, do all that jazz, so we can give newer, fresher, better, more content out to you. And we do appreciate everyone that has supported us so far.
Yes, indeed. And if you want to give, patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. As has been the tradition for us the last couple of years, I have donated 50% of everything that comes to us to a charitable cause. So if you want to give in a non-traditional way, support the show.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Thank you very much. All right, Chris. Man, that'll pretty much do it. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
That is it, man. Looking forward to it's early in the week, and I'm already like, is it Saturday yet? Love it. Good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. For different reasons. You want to get a win. I want to get a win. Maybe we're not so different after all.
Yeah. All the same.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for the support. This is Brandon saying, go Noles.
This is Chris. Go Gators.